It's 8 in the morning in the middle of New York City. You're driving to work while stopped at a traffic light intersection. Suddenly, the guy behind you begins honking, yelling at you to go already. The cars behind him join in with the honking and begin honking too. Confused and annoyed, you reply with, "What do you want me to do? It's no turn on red." Regardless of what you just said, they continue honking, one of them replying with, "I don't care." Again, like I said, it's 8 in the morning. You haven't had your cup of coffee yet. You can't take it anymore, so you turn, the light still being red. However, then suddenly you notice nobody's following you. And it doesn't come clear to you why that actually is until a blue SUV with a long whip-style antenna comes flying towards you with his lights and sirens on. You then realize that you're being pulled over by a New York State trooper. A thousand thoughts fly through your head at the time, the most concurrent being, can state troopers even pull you over on municipal roads? Well, and in this video, I will answer that exact question for you. I'm Nicholas, and you're watching the Law Enforcement Agency Information Channel. Can primary state officers pull you over on municipal roads? Now, before I dive into this, I do want to clarify. When I say primary state officers, I'm really referring to the state troopers of your respective state. The only reason why I don't use the term state troopers is because not all primary state police agencies use that term. For example, the California Highway Patrol, they refer to their officers as not troopers, but rather officers, CHP officers. So that's why I use the broader term primary state officers, because that refers to any officer of a primary state law enforcement agency, or in other words, de facto state police agency. But to really answer this question, we must first dive into their jurisdiction. So, in all 50 U.S. states, primary state officers will always have statewide jurisdiction. They are capable of operating anywhere within their state, including within city limits or on municipal roads, in order to enforce state laws. With that being said, they primarily operate on interstate and state highways, interstate and state highways, and state property. The real reason why they primarily operate on interstate highways, state highways, and state property is essentially because those areas don't typically fall under the inherent jurisdiction of local law enforcement. So therefore, they are typically the areas that lack policing from local law enforcement. Therefore, sorry, my computer almost shut off there. It is the duty of the state police to patrol it. Additionally, it's also because, interstate highways, state highways, and state property, they're all owned by the state. And since primary state officers are employed by their state, it's technically their responsibility to protect that property, the property that they are that is owned by the government they are employed by. Don't know if that made sense to you, but anyways, what was I going to say? With that being said, again, of course, they can operate within city limits. They are not limited to such. They absolutely can, but it is important to note that they cannot be operating in a manner that impersonates or substitutes, or they basically cannot be operating in a manner that impersonates or takes over the job of a local police officer. Doing such can get them in very big trouble. There are often very much complaints coming from local police departments about. I'm just saying it's happened before. There are many times state police aren't always invited into municipalities. Some municipalities actually have strict regulations on what state police can really do within those areas. Of course, a municipality cannot limit a state police officer from going within their municipality, but they can cut off all collaboration with that state police agency. However, with that being said, most municipalities actually are friends with the state police. They do allow their officers to. Sorry, my computer must shut off. Their officers to patrol, especially municipalities that lack their own police departments. Those municipalities are actually they will very often share cooperative agreements with state police. They are much more accepting of when state police patrols their municipality because they already lack their own police departments. But even in such a case that a municipality lacks its own police department, typically the county sheriff's office of their respective county will fill in for them. But however, let's say you're in Alaska where there are no county sheriff offices or counties in general. Then in that case, the state troopers would be the first to step in. However, the only problem with that is so state troopers aren't trained or designed to conduct local law enforcement duties. So patrolling schools, that's a local law enforcement duty. State troopers are not designed to do that. They are not meant to patrol schools or protect city courthouses. That's all the job of a local law enforcement officer. If there was no local law enforcement around, that would be kind of a problem because in addition to not being trained on local law enforcement duties, they also cannot legally enforce local laws unless a municipality or locality allows them to. There are a lot of troubles when it comes to state police conducting local law enforcement duties. They are not supposed to conduct local law enforcement duties. That is local law enforcement, in case you don't know, is essentially municipal law enforcement officers. Sorry, my computer must shut off there. Municipal law enforcement officers, so municipal police officers, municipal park rangers, etc., and county law enforcement officers, which includes county sheriff deputies, county prosecutors, etc. They are all totally allowed to patrol municipalities. They do not need a invite from municipal police department in order to get in there. But I mean, if they are patrolling it, if they are solely patrolling municipalities, I mean, it wouldn't really make sense. It's not entirely unallowed. In fact, it's actually a very common thing. I mean, not a very common thing. I'm just saying there are some troop barracks are actually located within cities. However, again, they primarily operate on highways. However, some troop barracks that are assigned to state buildings, such as a state courthouse, the state capitol, state parks, or etc., those state troop barracks will more likely primarily operate with the city. What I mean by that is, let me rephrase this. You've probably heard of a DMV building before, right? Those are located within cities. Well, those are also owned by the state. They are state buildings. And therefore, if any crime takes place on a DMV building, the state police is typically the first to respond because that is explicitly their authority and jurisdiction. So they do protect certain state buildings, even if that's in a city. Another great example, sorry, my computer must shut off there, is a state capitol. Those are located within cities, and yet state police still patrol those areas. If you're referring to the explicit patrolling of cities, like explicitly patrolling cities, enforcing state laws, they are totally allowed to do that. Again, in other words, in summary, they are allowed to enforce state laws within city. They're not, they don't entirely do that. It's not really entirely within their responsibilities. So yeah.